Tennessee's Republican governor is promising to sign legislation that would severely limit where drag performances can take place. The bill bans cabaret entertainment that is, quote, harmful to minors from public property or locations where children might see the performance. The bill doesn't include the words drag show, but it expands the definition of cabaret to include male or female impersonators, as well as topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, and strippers. Another bill would prohibit doctors from providing gender-affirming care to anyone under the age of 18, and that includes puberty blockers and hormones. Joining me now is Louie Ortiz Fonseca, the Director of LGBTQ Health and Rights at Advocates for Youth. Thank you for joining me, Louie. These bills are detrimental to trans and queer people across the board. Would you explain the significance of the bill that would ban gender-affirming healthcare and puberty blockers for minors?
I mean, essentially, it would prevent, young people, young trans people from getting care that they deserve. Young people have the right to lead healthy lives. They have the right to care
Mhm.
that they need to survive and thrive. And for young transgender young people, this might include specialized health care. As you mentioned it, some call it gender affirming care. And this has been endorsed by pediatrician and has proven to, help with mental health and well-being, right? So something like this not only impacts the physical well-being of young people, young trans people, but also their mental health.
Yeah, thank you for that. Puberty blockers are an interesting target because they really just do that. They buy time for trans youth. Why are they such a target of the right?
We still live in a country where young people are not seen as the that they can make decisions around their health, and then you add the issue around being trans or queer, and there's this archaic belief that there's something innately wrong about it, and accessing care is in a way of supporting that, and we know that to not be true, right? That it's this stunt that politicians have been using to other young trans people.
Yes, yes. Well, one of the bill's sponsors, William Lambert, a Republican, said these treatments and procedures have a lifetime of negative consequences that are irreversible, but the science proves that wrong. It doesn't back up those arguments from conservative legislators. How are they getting away with blatant lies?
Because it's fear mongering, right? And access to healthcare is still a big issue in this country, right? The way we talk about health has always been historically from this from a reactionary point of view, not necessarily preventative, or from the point of view of like being you like talking about healthcare as preventing or as an active part of our everyday lives. It's always been framed as if something is quote unquote wrong with you, or if you are in need of medical care, that's usually when the conversation is amplified. So I think it's that kind of like fear mongering, and the way that the notions that people have about healthcare, the lens that people look at healthcare in this country, I think that is being what is the word I'm looking for?
Exploited,
Right.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
like it's like exploiting people's fears. And we know that, data and science has shown us and proven that gender affirming care is age appropriate, right? It's life saving, medically necessary, and only provided after the consent of parents and doctors. So it's not like people are making these decisions without thought or without intentionality. I think that is the news hook that these homophobic and transphobic people in power have used to spread misinformation and, frankly, lies.
Is banning drag just a stealth way to silence and demonize queer people at large, do you think?
I think it's another tactic,
Yeah.
right? To paint, queer performers, queer people as a danger to young people, right? Drag performers aren't dangerous. In fact, around the country, we're seeing violence directed towards drag performers, right? As a young person, the safest places I found myself in were at drag shows, right? I That provided me visibility, that provided me comfort and a safe place to be myself. And I think that, that's being flipped on its head, unfortunately, to say that that is the way of like spreading the gay agenda or
Mhm.
confusing young people. And I'm here to say, no, that is not the case, right? The people who are being attacked now are drag performers and drag story time. Like,
Mhm.
those are the folks who are promoting violence and danger and um, dangerous messages to our young people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee has said he will sign these bills into law. The incredible hypocrisy irony is that a photo recently surfaced of Governor Bill Lee in drag, because I mean it's something that high schools or football teams used to do as kind of a show sometimes. So many people have done drag, in fact, at Halloween or whatever. Would you talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of these right wing legislators?
I think that it could, it is hilarious to a point that that this latest development has come to light. But it's also like walking this fine line, like, using that to demonize him and to can also, be a danger
Right.
and betray what we're trying, to not do, right? I
Mhm.
think the hypocrisy just speaks to like just the stunts that all of these things are. They're not in These bills are not introduced with intentionality or the intention to create a safer world for young trans people or young LGBTQ people, right? These are bills to elevate the governor and other politicians' profiles,
Mhm.
right? To create division and to other people in our community.
Louis, would you explain what groups like yours, Advocates for Youth, are doing to combat these hateful bills and to help trans youth, especially? And how can other people who are allies or part of the community get involved?
Awesome. Well, one of the things that we do is we work with young people throughout the country, right, who are doing organizing at the local, state, and national level. And some of the support that we provide are in-person events to raise awareness, right, to meet with leaders and politicians in power to support them and like reviewing the bills and really examining the dangers and impact that they have on LGBTQ young people, but also working with adult allies who have the power to speak up at school board meetings, who have a reach to reach to speak to elected officials
Mhm.
around these issues, right? So it's like working with young people, working with adult allies. How do we raise awareness, both in person and in the digital space, and also supporting them and bringing other people into the movement. Advocates for Youth is one of the organizations who are one of the many organizations who are doing amazing work around this issue, right? And as I hope that as these bills continue to be passed, while they're harmful, dangerous, and they create, pain, right? They impact the mental health of the young people we work with, that we fight harder, that our visibility is as strong, and that we let young people know that we are always building a world where we are all celebrated and affirmed, right? So one way that people can do that, right, is to like let your queer and transgender person in your life know that they are important, right, that they belong here, right, that there's nothing wrong with them, right, and that we are building a world that they would inherit, that they would continue to build for the queer and trans people that come after them. It is never easy to lay the brick by brick, but we are building a temple that will live forever so that no one in the future has to face what we are continuing to face today.
Well, thank you so much. That's a really beautiful answer. Louie Ortiz Fonseca, Director of LGBTQ Health and Rights at Advocates for Youth. Thank you for your work. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this Advocate today. The Advocate channel is streaming online at advocatechannel.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel or download our Roku app. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. I'll see you next time.